start the business. And here's why. There's lessons you can still learn regardless of if it succeeds. Not saying you're going to go in planning to fail. We don't do that, right? But we measure risk and determine what the risks are and how to mitigate the overall risk by saying, we're not going to go this big. Maybe we'll test it in a small way. Maybe I'll do some deep customer discovery and then put something out there and see if people are willing to pay for this thing in the bare bones status. Lesson for me. That's what I've learned, right? But I'm saying this as I was catching up with my mentee, and she's an informal mentee, right? We worked together, and then eventually she ended up reporting into me at one position. And we were talking about starting businesses and whatnot. This was before I went and did my MBA. This is post MBA. And the interesting thing I love is that she went out there and she tried. And one, she was like, oh, this was a mess. And she got lessons out of that. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And the other one was just, oh, that's too much of a liability and risk. I don't want to do that. But then at the end, she's like, I want to try again, maybe smaller. And the thing I absolutely love about this, it takes so much courage to put your ideas out there and be willing to take on the criticism that comes with it. People will judge you from here to Sunday about your business, your capabilities, all sorts of things, whatever have you, right? But it's so important to actually put something out there to see if people are willing to buy it. But also it's like what you learn internally because you went through this process. A lot of the lessons are actually about you. And that you part is, what do I really like? Does this align with my vision and values for what I want in my life overall? What are my weaknesses? And can I overcome those weaknesses? Do I want to overcome those weaknesses? What are my strengths? What comes easy to me? How soon would I be able to hire someone who can take on this thing that I don't really like doing? Can AI fulfill that part? Etc., etc. You get to learn all these things by trying. And these lessons, when you try to start a business, you can even do it while you're in a W-2. These lessons are things that you can still implement and help you while you're working at a company, a W-2. And so there's really no loss in that sense. There's only growth. You can become a better public speaker. Boy, have I told you, like when I tried to pitch my ideas and it's like people are like the deer in the headlights, especially if they're not in on that or they don't really understand the true core problem. There's that, right? So the ability to break things down into something digestible that is in alignment with your particular audience, leaving space for them to ask questions. Sometimes we get so excited and we're trying to tell them everything. So for her to have started this process and then to come out of that with a lesson about herself and about just the lessons, the weaknesses, measuring risk versus opportunity. As a merchant, you're always doing that. So I would expect nothing less that she was able to do the analysis and then say, yeah, no, not doing that, right? Because we're in the math all day long. Are we like statisticians or whatever have you? You do use statistics, but we're not going crazy. But you have to really understand numbers and how these things move and what are the impacts and how do you de-risk or improve your opportunities to maximize your profits, etc. So she was able to actually start this business, test it out, and even go through the process. Sometimes you don't even get through the full launch, right? But you're going through the process and you're like, oh no, because you're now doing it for yourself. This is the difference between people who've never tried launching something, putting something out there, because when you're in that ecosystem of working for an established company, now it's great. You get to learn a lot of things and great processes, but there is that piece where sometimes you don't have the skills to actually do some of the things and set something up first from scratch. And this is where sometimes they say, don't hire too senior. Don't hire for someone who can't get you there. Maybe they're already there and they can manage the team and do all these different things, but they aren't the person who's capable of doing the task because they don't understand being in the weeds. And sometimes you can't hire on someone who has this high title, but the high title, and you can't really bridge the gap between, did you really earn that over time? Or did you come from something else and then you were able to, through your network, get this position? There's so many different nuances of how that comes about. But even if you grew up in that company, you grew up in that company with so many levels of SOPs and systems and all these different things, the resources, the not having stress, the not having as much ambiguity. That's one thing that's pretty interesting, is noticing who can handle that and who cannot. And you come to certain companies and people are like, well, where is this? Why isn't this? And this, that, and the other. Entrepreneurship, there's a whole lot of ambiguity. So you need people on your team, and you also need to be able to do the dirty work, roll up your sleeves, figure it out. That's a part of it. It's not roll out the red carpet and all the things are going to just be there. It's a startup sometimes, right? So that's so important to really learn and understand that. And when you actually put your idea out there, try it. I strongly recommend anybody, if you have an idea, put it out there, try to make it happen. Worst case scenario, especially if you're still working a W-2, you take those learnings and you can do entrepreneurship at your company. You will have built skills on learning how to pitch your information, because that's huge. I've changed the way I've pitched a billion times. I'm in the process of doing something different in terms of the way I'm launching. And I want to bootstrap. I didn't take any money from anybody for anything I've ever launched. If I take somebody's money, I want to make sure I'm going to get them that back. That's how I worked as a merchandise planner. You give me that budget, we're going to make some money, right? I would have already looked at all the details from Sunday to Tuesday or whatever the thing is. And I would have come up with a stretch plan, a whatever plan, your initial budget. That's a baseline. And then we're checking to make sure we're getting that, hitting the numbers. And I'm going to make my team be on the same page. I may give them some grace to, they can do that their way. And then once their way doesn't work, because I already saw that it wouldn't, then we're going to come my way, because we're going to make these numbers. That's where you get athletes on your team. So starting and trying that business is, I think, one of the best things you can do. I've seen people who launch their business, they're doing great, they've got the crowd, and for whatever reasons, there's many different reasons, they shut that baby down, they go back to corporate, they're working for someone, maybe in a higher level role than they would have gotten had they just stayed on that traditional ladder path. But those skills you learn as an entrepreneur, or even someone who works in a small company, that has, I would say, great people where you can really learn, because there is a problem if you start your career off in a small company and there aren't people there with the appropriate skill set that you can learn from. So big problem. I do believe there's a level of importance of potentially starting in a large corporation. You understand systems and processes and tools and certain things, and then you go get your hands dirty at a small company, and you're able to implement some of those things and test your strengths on being able to build something out of nothing, or at least clean it all up so it's easier. I am like your automation queen. I don't like boring administrative work. I will come into a company and it'll be problematic. I'll do it their way for a while, but if something can be optimized, best believe I'm building it. So then I have that time to do the digging, and I will dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, right? So the ability to have people on your team and knowing how to build that team as an entrepreneur is so essential, because that will make or break you. And you as a leader, this is another learning, you as a leader will grow. You will know how to pick. You'll be better about hiring people. You'll be better about leading, managing. As a part of a startup, our turnover was insane. And I eventually left because I'm like, the work environment was horrible. Do I think that founder was inspiring and really able to be successful in something eventually? But you can't have success if people don't stay, because then you're spending so much time, and that time is a resource, retraining new people. And, I was in the position that if someone left, I'm jumping in because I have the know-how and whatnot. So that ability to retain, what do they say? Hire slow, fire fast. There's that level. But at the end of the day, do you need to be fired? So these are lessons that you can learn in terms of leadership. This is actually why I ended up deciding to get an MBA and choosing this particular institution, because for one, I wanted to be able to observe other people, not just learn the business stuff. My first master's was in a business school, and we took most classes that are MBA, classes or whatever have you. So there's that, right? But this one, and I also had a minor in business, but I saw a gap in myself and I wanted to close that gap. And I felt like I needed other people to see other people and meet other people and figure out how they are maneuvering and moving and whatever. There's other ways to do it, right? So the MBA did help in some other ways as well. But surrounding yourself with people who are high achievers in various facets. We did have a mix of people who were either entrepreneurs, whether it be nonprofit or for-profit, as well as senior leadership as well. And that mix of people provides you the opportunity for certain levels of feedback. Sometimes it's not formal feedback. Sometimes it's just like they don't like you because what you said or how you articulated it and it wasn't perfect. But either way, it's all a lesson, right? So putting your ideas out there that's one thing you have to be able to do as a CEO. Putting things out there, being okay with ambiguity, right? You're not going to be the one that's always doing the thing. So there's a level of trust. There's a level of learning leadership skills. There's all these different things. So I love that she took that time to try. And it was cool at one point just seeing some of the things that she was doing, the photography and all that kind of stuff, and behind the scenes and whatnot. I love a good ambitious woman, right? I will cheer for anybody, man, woman, whatever, I don't care, who's trying to put themselves out there and who's open to growth mindset. We're all, diamond in the rough sometimes, even I remember mentoring and it was like, defensiveness or whatever have you. I've been there too, right? But that's the interesting thing about entrepreneurship and putting yourself out there is, like this one girl said, forget therapy, just start a business. Now, get the therapy, but it will have you checking yourself if you leave yourself open enough to be receptive to your challenges, and then you take that time to address those challenges. And there's so many ways to do that, but start the business. It'll be the best lesson you ever learned. Now, if you need to talk to somebody about that and figure out how to de-risk starting it and the path towards launching and testing the idea and all these different things. But if it's a technical thing, do a quick little vibe code and put it out there and see what people do. Look at the metrics of how many people clicked and signed up and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes people sign up and then there's nothing else, but you are able to see active users and what people are using and all that kind of stuff. There's so many opportunities to put something out there. Make a paper box and have a little test something if it's a physical product, etc. There's so much. if you're making a physical product that is apparel or something else, talk to somebody, or at least understand branding and some other nuances. Sometimes y'all are pricing things out the wazoo and the quality is BS. So being able to understand certain metrics and retention, and that most retailers are actually, now I'm swaying into retail, most retailers really bank on returning customers. So if you're making something that sucks and people aren't coming back, and this is a lot of business, subscription, whatever, but retailers really need those loyal customers. That drives a lot of the business as well. And generally, by the time you make it to net profits, they're slimmer because there's all this overhead. So there's so much that goes into that. So talk to people, but try in the smallest way and see if someone's willing to buy, and how you feel about that, and how does it impact your lifestyle, and are you okay with that for potentially maybe 5 to 10 years. Maybe you make enough money early enough to be able to tap out from time to time to do what you need to do. But you should understand these things and talk to people to really learn that. You'll be better because of it, and you can talk to other people about business even better. Worst case scenario, again, entrepreneurship in your job. You will learn something that will accelerate you in your corporation, and you'll be able to go back into the workforce eventually, at least. So many people I know have done it. You'll be fine, but you'll be better because of it.